My friend left me in a foreign country without anything to get home.
Looks like you need to get an Uber.
An overseas Uber.
They sell them.
This is from the r/okstorytime subreddit.
One of
Riley.
our own.
This is one of our own, one of our children.
no.
I, 27 female, at the time was in a graduate program and befriended Kim, 26 female. We had known each other previously while doing our undergrad at the same time at university where we were now completing our masters. Kim and I became super close over the course of 2 years in our first couple of years of grad school. By the way, this comes from Gingery Kitten, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/okstorytime subreddit. So it felt so good to be able to lean on someone who understood what I was going through. Juggling school, a job, and a social life, we connected on a level I had never felt before. She was passionate about the same topics I was, and we paired up on multiple assignments while in classes together. Now here comes the incident. This was during peak pandemic time. Kim and I were in a group with 3 other people. We'll call them A, B, and C for a class project.
Give them names.
We'll say Anne, Bailey, and Casey.
All right. Ann, Bailey, and Casey.
Anne, Bailey, and Casey. Okay. Anne and Bailey were in a relationship, and Kim was somewhat close to them as well. Our professor loved our work so much that we were recommended to present our research at our state's therapy conference. That went very smoothly. Then Anne and Bailey found another conference where we could present, this time out of the country. I had never been to this country before, but had always wanted to go. Now I had the opportunity to share my research with other inspiring professionals. Anne and Bailey planned out the trip for us and just relayed the total amount we each needed to pay. This is where I messed up. I thought I could trust their judgment in setting up our travel plans. I should have asked for details, when we'd have time to eat and sleep, what the travel protocols were during that time due to the vid. So we sent out on the trip. Right off the bat, I was super tired since we had a late night flight and I can't sleep on planes. The flight took about 8 hours. We were served a meal and I had brought snacks, but by the time that we deboarded and went to our Airbnb, I was starving. However, we couldn't eat until lunchtime because we had to check in first. That first night at our B&B, there were 2 queen beds and a single bed. I was running on 0 sleep while everyone else had been able to sleep on the flight, so I asked for the single bed, hoping to get a bit more rest. Now, this wasn't a legit bed, more like a glorified lounging couch. It had only a thin sheet, and the place was pretty cold. We realized there were no extra blankets, so I spent the night freezing my butt off.
Oh.
The next day, we presented at the conference, and that part went smoothly, but we had to spend one more night at our cold B&B with no blankets for me. Then we finally started touring, and again, there wasn't much time set aside for proper meals. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner were rushed, and we barely had time to stop for snacks. Since we had timed tours, we had to check in on our schedule or risk missing them. At this point, I was running on little sleep, hardly any food, and sheer exhaustion. Then we arrived at our last B&B and discovered the hot water heater had stopped working as soon as one of us went to take a shower. The place was already small and cramped. It was an old city, so I understood that the water system might not be the best. But at this point, it was just another thing going wrong. Running on no sleep, not enough food, and now unable to properly clean myself, I was emotionally breaking down. That's a lot to handle in one
And it's
trip.
a cold shower.
That's hard. The night before our return flight, we all went to bed early since we had to get up in time to catch the only direct flight back to the US that day. We woke up early and dropped off at the airport, only to find out that it wasn't a 24-hour airport. Anne and Bailey, who had booked the flight, didn't realize this. So we had to wait an hour for it to open. When we finally went to check in, they asked for our last vid test, which had to be within the past 24 hours. None of us had taken one recently enough, so we had to rush across the street to a small clinic, wait for that to open, and that was another hour wasted.
Dang.
At this point, we were cutting it very close to boarding time. Anne and Bailey, who planned the trip, went in first for testing, then Kim, then me, then Casey. As Casey and I were getting our tests, Anne, Bailey, and Kim said that they were going to the check-in desk to tell the crew to wait for us. Now, I didn't like this one bit. When you're in a foreign country, you're not supposed to separate from your group. But I figured since I was still with Casey, maybe it would be okay. Once we got our results and rushed to the check-in desk, no one was there.
Oh no.
Not the flight crew, not our group members, no one. I frantically called Kim, asking where they were. She said that they were boarding the flight and begging the crew to let us on. Now, I don't believe this for 1 second.
Wait, what?
I don't know.
Wait, sorry. I need more
believe it,
context.
but-
Yes, what?
Maybe they asked once, but I highly doubt that they truly advocated for us. So here I was, stranded in a foreign country I had never been to, with only one other person from our group. We had no clue what to do or where to go. The help desk told us that we needed to book a hotel for the night since the next flight to the US wasn't until the next day. We also had to buy new last-minute plane tickets, and we all know how expensive those are, especially for international flights.
So
Ugh.
where did they go?
They went on the flight.
But the flight wasn't there.
That's because everyone was boarding. So they missed.
I thought they were at the gate and they're like, they were at the wrong gate and they're like, what happened? Where is everyone?
No, I mean, that's kind of what they're saying, is that like there's no like flight crew, everyone, but I think it's because everyone was literally already on the plane. Like there were probably other people at other gates there, but yeah, they didn't do whatever they could to stop them. They just boarded.
Sure.
What would you do? Would you board the plane, or would you wait for your group, like have to go the next day with the rest of your group?
Depends on how well I'm doing financially.
Yeah.
If I'm not doing so hot financially, sorry guys. Now, let's
Good
say
point.
like it's a group of guys
Yeah.
and they were in the wrong. I'm gonna be like, sorry guys, I'm gonna get on the flight.
Yeah.
But if it was like you and Sophia left behind
Yeah.
and it was me and another guy, I'd be like, we gotta stay back. We can't just
Yeah.
leave these girls here.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah. That's my take on that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Poor planning. That's rough. I had to drop $1,500 on a new ticket just to get home. On top of that, I had to pay for a hotel near the airport since we had to wake up early, get tested again, and make our flight. Now, I was a broke college student and had budgeted this trip down to the cent. I had brought a little extra money, but not enough to cover an emergency this big. I had to charge my flight ticket and use the last of my converted money for the hotel. I didn't even have enough left for an Uber, so we had to walk 5 miles to the hotel while carrying our luggage. Oh my gosh, this whole thing is just such a mess.
That's a 10K.
Thank God the hotel had meals included, hot water, and cozy beds. Otherwise, I would have lost it. The stress, exhaustion, and lack of basic needs throughout the trip had already pushed me to my breaking point. Once we got through our layover on the new flight, I was finally able to breathe and relax, knowing I was almost home. This is where I asked myself, would I be an a-hole for going low contact with my friend after all this? On the one hand, I get it. Buying another ticket and staying an extra night is expensive. But on the other hand, I thought we were good friends. Who leaves their friends stranded in a foreign country they've never been to? But I have another question. Who is going to listen to all of our extra stories and episodes with more stories just like this one? What's the answer, Riley?
I don't know. Could it be you?
Could it be you? I think it is. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search OK Storytime. Anyway, back to you, Riley. There's more to this story.
Back to you, Riley.
That's
Just
great.
a news report.
It was never on, Riley.
Dude.
But there is more to this story. But what would you do? would you try to see what words they use? Would OP be the a-hole for going low contact with their friend?
No. Because, like,
Yeah.
I would have not left them there alone whenever you're getting your test. I understand you were kind of... That was what went wrong. They were waiting on the test, right? And then they left them?
Yeah, pretty much.
I would go probably low contact and then, like, kind of step away. Be like, all right, you know my guy? You know my girl?
Yeah.
You ain't got my back like that?
Yeah. I'm really glad that she was not alone
Yeah.
in this. I feel like with things like this, if like something goes wrong, someone's planning something, I always have to like think that I have to blame myself a little bit at the same time, being
Okay.
like, well, I was also going on this trip and like I was doing this and that. I could have done the research into all this too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do we remember, was she like, she was just like fully planning it herself?
I
it
think
seems, this
she
friend.
was fully planning it herself in a way.
Yeah, but I don't
Just
know
some
why.
miscommunication happened. What happened to the group chat?
I guess
Why is
she
no one
just-
talking to the group chat?
Yeah, I guess OP just said that she like trusted her friend, and that was mistake number one. I think that's what she said.
Anyways, what happened next?
Kim also said that she tried to help me out with the cost of the ticket, but that never happened. Not even $5. Nothing. That felt like the cherry on top of an already crappy experience. My friends and family who know the full story say I'm not the a-hole. They say it was a terrible thing for Kim to do, and I know if that's true, then Anne and Bailey are just as bad. Some of their past behavior should have clued me in that they weren't the best people to trust with our travel plans. Hindsight is 2020, I guess, but what do you all think? Am I the a-hole for going low contact with my friend for leaving me behind in a foreign country?